So I just became a grandma and my grandbaby was born. And something I decided I was going to do before she even got here was not just shower the little one with gifts, but I am going to build her an asset. And I will do this for all my grandkids. So let's dive into this. Okay. What if I told you that you could set up a child at birth or at a very young age with something that could grow into hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million, that they don't have to wait to touch until retirement? It could help them buy their first car or pay for college or just start their first business or even put a down payment on a house without debt. My name is Wendy Lee. I teach faith-driven families how to make, manage, and multiply their money. It's all about building real legacy and real impact and being stewards of what God has given us. And most of us, truth, right? We didn't grow up with financial wisdom passed down. Some of you did. Some of you are lucky. Most of us did not. We grew up figuring it out the hard way. And I decided in my family that stops with me. So here's what most families do when it comes to, new baby, new child, young child, and helping them for their future. They open a savings account, right? Or a Gerber plan and start putting money into that. Maybe a 529 for college. Or what most families do is absolutely nothing at all. And while, those 529s, Gerber plans can have their place, I wanted to do something that would create flexibility, create protection, and also create long-term wealth all in one. So I want to walk you through a strategy that wealthy families use for their kids and grandkids that's very different than what we do traditionally, and the 4 reasons why they use this strategy. So in my company, we call this protected asset classes. Okay. They do have to be set up by a professional. So you have to get with a licensed professional to set this up. And I would make sure you find somebody that you trust that understands different things like family banking concepts and things like that. But I'm going to dig in and share the 4 reasons wealthy families use this strategy. So number 1 is to protect insurability early. So the strategy that I'm setting up for my grandchild includes growth with market, index to the market, okay? And also protection from volatility, and also a life insurance wrapper, okay? Life insurance is actually, there are tax codes that are written in the law, just like a 401k is actually a tax code of 401k, right? So tax codes are written in the law to basically create ways that the wealthy can get more wealthy. And if you don't know the codes, you don't know about these things. But you can use insurance as a way to grow money tax-free and things like that. So the number 1 thing when it comes to these strategies is to protect insurability earlier. And this is huge. And almost nobody talks about it. But when you set up your child or your grandchild at birth with a plan like this, you're locking in that child's ability to be insured for life, regardless of future health. So if something, God forbid, ever happens later, they're already covered for life, okay? And it's not a reaction. This is proper planning. So you're protecting their future before anything can go wrong. I set up my older 2 kids when they were younger. It wasn't quite this strategy, and I didn't understand these strategies, but it was a permanent life insurance policy. And I didn't understand how it works. There wasn't a lot of growth attached to it. And again, I didn't understand it. I wasn't taught by the person that wrote it for me what it actually does in a way that I could understand and make educated decisions. So I let those policies lapse. And I hate that because now those kids, my older kids, are in their 20s. And one of them has done some things that causes his insurability, his insurance to become more expensive when it comes to life insurance. And so And thank God nothing dramatic happened health-wise. But when you insure your kids from a young age, if something happens, we have lots of cases of childhood diabetes, there's autism, there's unfortunately, we've seen a lot of cases, in the past several years with heart issues or childhood cancers. So there's so many things that can happen that getting them insured young, not for the death benefit, but for the protection so that they have insurance. So if they grow up and they have a family and they're now in a space where they can't get insurance, they already have it. Okay. That makes sense. So number one, they protect insurability early and it stays with them through life. The second thing is, this is a way to grow money without market loss. This is where it gets powerful, okay? Instead of riding the roller coaster of the market, this strategy is designed so that you participate in the growth of the market, say the S&P 500, but you never go backwards when the market drops. And over time, not losing becomes just as important as gaining because big losses take years to recover from. So I want to give you a quick example. Okay, I'm going to do a deeper dive video on this later, but if you put, $100 in the market and I put $100 under my bed and you make 50% in the market goes haywire and it's amazing and you make 50%. You now have $150. I still have 100. The next year, the market decreases 50%. Okay. You lose 50%. I lose nothing because my money's under the mattress. You went up 50, down 50. You have a rate of return of 0. I stayed 0 because I didn't do anything with it. We both have the same average rate of return, but we each have a different amount of money. The one in the market that went up 50 and down 50, that becomes $75. And the money under the mattress is still 100. Okay, so let that sink in for a minute. And think about that over time. When you have the losses, it takes years to recover from the losses. Average rates of return when you have losses are not the same as average rate of return when you never have a loss. Okay. All right. So number 3 is these plans, these strategies create flexible tax advantage access. So this is not money that's locked away for one purpose. If you put money in a Roth IRA, nothing against that. It's a great plan. Grow your money tax-free. You can't access that money until currently age 59 and a half. And that could change. But right now, the age is 59 and a half that you cannot access that money or you get penalties. And when you access that money from a Roth, you get, if it's before 59 and a half, you get taxed. If you put it in a traditional IRA, that's a whole other story, right? Okay, so the thing about these strategies is that money is not locked away and you can access it tax-free if you do it the way we teach you. And you can use it for things like getting their first car, not a new car, new to them, by the way. Maybe for college, instead of borrowing student loans from the federal government, what if they could borrow from their own account, tax-free, and pay themselves back? And what they pay themselves back, they pay themselves interest, and it literally just adds to the growth of their account. Okay. Maybe they want to start a business. They want their first home. They can access this money tax-free. All right. Money, think about this, that's grown from the time they were born. If you start this when they're a baby, that they have access to. All right. So instead of being boxed in, they have options, and those options create freedom. And honestly, when we look at the Word of God, taking this from a biblical perspective, borrowing money was not okay. Okay. Borrowing money was deemed wrong and you were a slave. Okay. They said you are a slave to the borrower or to the lender when you're a borrower. And back in the Bible days, right, in the Old Testament, right, we see Moses is building the temple and people are bringing all the resources. He didn't have to beg, borrow, and steal, right? People brought them because they had abundance. And it's because they treated money right. And now in today's day and age, we have a whole bunch of Christians who are leveraged to the hills with debt and can't get ahead. So imagine being able to pass on to your children or grandchildren a way to get a home and not be necessarily going into a ton of debt to a mortgage lender, but instead be able to borrow that from yourself. Okay. So, so number one was protect insurability early. Number two, money grows without market loss. Number three, flexible tax advantage access. And number four is they build a living asset and a legacy. Okay. So this is what separates wealthy thinking from average thinking. It's not just about accumulation. So somebody will say, oh, just put it in a Roth IRA. That's about accumulation. This is about more than that. This strategy grows while they're alive, can be used before they're retired, and it passes on to the next generation. So you're not just giving money, you're building something that outlives you. So for me, right, this is not about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about this. My granddaughter will never have to start from zero. She's going to have a foundation. She's going to have options. She'll have a head start that most people never get. And more than that, she'll have the knowledge to do it again. And that's how you break cycles. That's how you build legacy. She will learn how this strategy works and be able to eventually take it over. And it becomes an asset for her future generations. Okay. So if you're a parent or a grandparent and you're thinking, I want to do something like this, but I want to make sure I do it right, I'd love to help you map it out. So there's a link below. You can always book time with me, a free wealth map. We look at your entire situation, your goals, your family, and we help you build something that actually works long-term, because we don't want to just pass down money. We want to pass down wisdom. And that, my friends, can change everything. So thank you for tuning in. Share this with somebody that needs to learn about this. This is the stuff that when I learned about it, I'm like, how come I didn't know about this when I was 20? And so my mission is to help get the word out there. And if you want to set up strategies like this for you, for your kids, for your grandkids, or you want your adult children to realize they can do this for their kids, share this video, go to moneywithwendy.com and book your wealth map session, and we can help you build this for you.